Hello everybody, you are now live with Sean with TRP Media, and I'm going to help everybody go through your DR-60d made by Tascam. As some people may or may not know, I love audio, and that's what I do. Give me just a minute. There we go. And this is my DR-60d, or one of mine. I have actually a couple of these because I believe in them so much. They are a great recorder for the price. For $200 from B&H, you can't really beat it right now. This is the best thing to get going for an audio recorder. If you have an H4n or a DR40 and you don't need the onboard microphones, sell it ASAP. Get one of these right away. I power mine with a USB battery. Simply, it's a 5 volt with 1 amp output. I put Velcro on the back of mine, and so I just Velcro it on like so. Plug it into the USB port like that, and tap the battery button to make sure it's on, and then you tap the or hold the Tascam button, and it'll boot on out. You can choose bus power, and typically it'll come up and ask you for the date and time. Come on, camera. Can't really see it that well, but it'll ask you for the date and time. I always hit the date and time for any gig. Today is 6:10. And it's about 7:40 p.m. Press the button, press the knob N for enter. It'll load, and now you're ready to record. If you have phantom power turned on at the switches here, it will ask you, are you sure you want to turn on phantom power? To say yes, you press the rotator N, and phantom power will be turned on for that channel. Looks like I have a couple viewers. Hopefully someone will join in. Okay, let me see if I can invite people. One moment. James, our TRP leader, would like to join in, but it's having a little problem. James. Okay. I'm going to go through the basics of how I set up my recorder for a gig out in the field. First of all, hey James, you there?
I am, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I cannot see you yet.
Okay, it's best you don't see me.
Okay. Whatever floats your boat.
I just got out of the shower. I'll get dressed in a second.
Okay, that works. Anyways, I'm going through the steps on the DR-60, how I get it set up for a recording gig, and I'll go through it step by step. So first we went through, of course, setting the date and time. That's always important. So I'm going to go into the menu, press the menu button. We're going to scroll all the way down to where it says Others. Press in the Enter rotator dial. And you're going to scroll down to where it says System. Go into there. And now it's going to give you your general system settings. I have auto power always set to 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes it shuts off, saves power on the USB battery. Anything before that is too soon for me typically. Anything after that, it's just wasting power. Backlight I have set to 30 seconds. That itself will use power. Contrast, I always have it 7, always. Battery type, if you're using a USB battery, battery type does not matter. However, if you're using rechargeable batteries versus alkaline, you want to set it here. This will give you a little bit extra time during your recording process. Plug-in power. This is for the channel 3 and 4, the 1/8 inch adapter, 1/8 inch jack. And basically, if you have a lav mic that needs plug-in power, you can actually turn it on right here. So this device is smart enough to have it on or off depending on your different needs. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to leave mine off because I don't use it that very often. Phantom power voltage. You can actually set it down to 24 or 48 volts depending on your mic. Most of today's mics nowadays require 48 volts. However, there are some older mics that can take 24 volts and still function properly. Why would someone want to use the 24 volt versus the 48 volt? Simply to extend battery life at this point, unless it only supports 24 volt power. With this USB battery, I never have to worry about battery life, very rarely, so I always leave it at 48 volts. Then it comes down to initialize, quick format, or full format. Initialize is to prep the card to be used at all for the DR60. If it's never been used before, then you'll need to do the initialize once. Hold on one second. Sorry about that, folks. Like everybody, I have a family, and they don't understand I'm in here helping everybody else out. So, continuing on, like I said before, the quick format is to format the card that's already been set up for the DR60, set to go from the get-go. Full format, I don't recommend doing a full format from the DR60. One, it puts extra writes on the SD card that you don't need, and I have not seen an improvement by using the full format versus the quick format. Quick format works just fine. To get back a menu, to go back one level on the menu system, you press the menu button and it takes you back one level. The next thing you want to set is the file name. Here you can set the type either through date or word. And what that means is date, of course, is for the current date, and it'll typically show it year, month, day. So 2014, June 10th will typically be one of the file names. Or you can set the preamble for a word. So if you want to have a project name for the word before the file number, then you can do that way. I typically rather use the date, because if for some reason I copy and paste files around on my system and the modified date gets changed or the origination date gets changed, I'd like to know when that file was created. With any luck, if I always kept this date time set up, it'll always be correct. So let's go ahead and set it to date. You press the button in, and then you go down and it'll say count init. That actually means count initialization, which means it will start over the counting process for the file numbers. And you only want to do this on a clean card. If you do this on a card that you already have in here, you'll actually start over and you could accidentally overwrite your files on here, and that's bad. Very, very bad. I won't do that right now since I have a card in here which I need data from. So I'm going to press the menu button to go back. And now we can get out of the other menu, so we press the menu button again. We're going to go back. And we're going to scroll up to where it says auto record and go in there. I always turn this off, so mode should always be off. Since this is off, we're not going to mess with any of those settings, so we're going to press menu again. We're going to scroll up to where it says record settings. We'll go ahead and press the key in. Now it's going to ask for format. The format I use is BWF 24-bit. And this actually allows you to save metadata to the individual files, either in post or otherwise. And every sound editor that I know uses BWF versus just plain WAV. It's compatible with any kind of media player that supports 24-bit WAV files, so it's best to record in 24-bit BWF. Sample. Unless you're recording something other than dialogue, such as music, or something that's very sensitive, like, say, a river or a stream, something that has a lot of high frequencies, I would leave the sample set, or the sample size, to 48K. 48K is fine for almost everything that I've ever come across in regards to dialogue recording. Size, I always leave it at 2G, which is 2 gigabytes, and at 48K 24-bit, it gives you roughly about 4 hours of record time and 2 gigabytes. That's pretty darn good. I've yet to exceed the 2 gigabyte file size limit. It obviously can happen for people that record concerts, but right now I haven't had a problem with that. Going on, self-timer, I never use. Monitor, I turn this off. The reason why I turn this off is that you only want to monitor audio when your recorder is armed for recording. Just like if someone uses Pro Tools or Reaper or Logic, you typically have to arm the track to listen to what's coming into that channel. So I turn monitor off on this. Otherwise, you're always listening to what's going on, and that can sometimes be confusing to let you know when you're actually recording. Pre-record. I usually turn this on, and there's two reasons. One, sometimes you're in a rush as a sound recordist and you need to get going, and someone says action. Well, before you even know it, you're having to press record and press record again to start recording, and you might have missed the first word before you press record. Well, this will give you a 2-second pre-record for your recording buffer. So actually 2 seconds before you actually press record, it's actually recording to disk continuously, and to memory continuously before you press record, which can help save your butt. Record delay. This can be useful for people that are known or have seen the record button being pressed by accident, and can cause issues recording things when you don't need it to. And this will give you a heads up. I rarely ever turn this on because typically I have this around my neck or have this in front of my face, and I know exactly when I'm going to record. So I never turn on record delay. Autotone. Now, autotone is, in short, a 1 kilohertz tone that is played through mixed channel and also on the audio file for syncing purposes in post. I usually turn this on head. This allows me two things. One, a dedicated sync point for sure, and also it lets me know that I'm actually recording with the device. Tone seconds, I usually have it at half a second. Tone volume, I leave it at -18 dB. The reason why I leave it there, that's typically where you want to calibrate your post-production sound systems to, is -18 dB. You can usually calibrate it to the sine tone, or what they call the 2-pop tone from this unit. Slate key. there's actually there's a button right here, right below the record button. It says slate. And with this button, you can manually initialize that slate tone or that 2-pop tone while you're recording. This is useful if, for some reason, a director says, stop, but keep on rolling, and you want another sync point. Go ahead and press the slate button again, really quickly, to get additional sync point. Hello.
How you doing, man?
I'm okay. You come here for the audio recorder tutorials and stuff?
Yeah, pretty much.
Great. Glad to see you.
I'm at a Domino, so it might be a little loud.
I can only imagine. Well, if I mute you, I apologize in advance. Just when you get out of when you get out of Domino's, you can unmute yourself or whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some more basic info on better audio quality and stuff like that. So I figured I could just watch this and hear some tips from you guys.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Right now, I'm just going through the menu system of the DR-60d. This unit, if you haven't seen it before, is freaking awesome for the price. It's $200 and does more than an H41 and H1 combined. I absolutely love this thing. With a USB battery, it will last 9 hours recording out in the field. One of the greatest things about this, and sorry to get sidetracked, folks, is the preamps on this. This has the preamp quality of the next unit above it, called the DR-60d, and they basically took the preamps, swapped it, put them in here, and gave it a whole bunch of features from the DR-40, which is freaking phenomenal. Anyways, I'm going to continue on with the menu system. So we're going to push the menu button and get back one level, and we're going to scroll up to versus, I believe it's input settings. So we're going to go into input settings, and this is where you can actually set your individual channels. Depending on this, all depends on the mics you connect up to it. If you have a higher end mic like the NTG3 or a mic that has a lot of output voltage, you can set the gain to the low setting. For other mics like the NTG2, I always have to set it to the mid setting. And then for like dynamic mics such as like the Shure SM57 and stuff like that, you typically have to set it to the high setting. For the limiter, I always leave mono, because I actually want the limiters to work independently. Only time you should work them together is if you're recording a concert, and since I don't do that, it's not a big thing to worry about. Low cut, I leave this at about around 80 hertz. This will get rid of a lot of rumble that happens not only with wind, but trucks rolling down the street, whatever may have you. Delay, it'll say ref, it's reference. Channel 1 is typically always the reference channel, and you never have a delay. If you keep scrolling down, it'll show the same settings for channel 2 and 3 and 4. And this is where you can actually delay those channels of recording, depending if you have your mics out of phase for a few milliseconds here and there. This will actually help you get them back in phase if need be. Once you have all those set, you push the menu button again to go back. And lastly, you're going to scroll up and click on record mode. Now this is the bread and butter of the device right here, the record mode. Typically, you'll be set on stereo. It'll be source 1 and 2, which is XLR 1 and 2. And you'll see below that it'll say MS mode off, which means mid-side mode, and for the purposes of recording dialogue, we never use mid-side mode. It's not a good combination for narrative films or even ENG work. I typically scroll around and either use mono or dual mono. for most of my shoots, most of the shoots I have to go to. Why do I want to record mono versus stereo? Well, typically if you only have one mic plugged in, that's mono. So when you're recording mono, you use less space than stereo, obviously, and since it's mono, it's straight down the middle, which then you can pan either left and right in post, or leave it straight down the middle and it'll work just fine. Dual mode or dual mono means you're recording a secondary backup track to that mono file that's anywhere between 6 to 12 dB lower. And let me just double check that. You can go, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What would be the audio?
I'm sorry, you broke up. What's up?
That would be the audio, like that back. Cut out.
You're breaking up, James.
Well, is that channel correct?
You're breaking up like back and forth. It goes what? You might want to retry rejoining or something because it's breaking up pretty bad. It goes all the way down to -12, and you can have it, dual level at -1. I usually leave it at -7, lucky number 7, because typically I'm pretty on point of keeping my levels under control. But some people might want to just use -12 anyways, just in case they get someone that has to scream a line or yell unexpectedly, and you don't plan for it. Back up one, and that is the menu system in a quick, what is it, 10-minute thing. Hey James, I see you're back, man. Can you hear me?
I didn't hear you.
A little bit. Are you on some kind of Wi-Fi or something?
Mac. I'm on my.
Yeah, you keep breaking up, buddy. Send me a message through Facebook or something so I can see what you're saying. Or even through the chat on the Google chat here. Mike, did you have any specific questions I could try to answer for you? Mike, can you hear me? I see that you're muted somehow. I can't unmute you. Give me just 1 minute. Let me see if I can. It's been a while since I've used a Hangout with all the cool stuff. Q&A. Okay, got questions coming in. Whew. They mixed in, record. Okay. What happens if you plug into the 2 amp port? I have not tried that, Wayne, plugging into the 2 amp port. The 2 amp port obviously gives 2 amps, typically for an iPod, or I'm sorry, not iPod, iPad or other tablet. I just haven't tried going down that route, so keep it to the 1 amp if I were you. Okay. Let's look at the other question. Do I have any insight on USB recording? For Foley ADR, I did recently, first time as well. I wish I knew how to record the USB straight into an editor or Audition. This is not an audio interface, okay? Unlike the Zoom, which it can be an audio audio interface. This is not an audio interface. It's not designed for that. It never was, it never will be. And the whole DR line of Tascam units don't have that functionality. At least not right now. And I don't expect them to ever will. When you get into units that can do multiple things like that, unless they're high-end, they usually don't do them very well. I would recommend investing in a cheap separate audio interface. You can get cheap ones from Roland, which is also branded from Cape. You cannot mute me, ever. Ha 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 ha. That's alright. So hopefully I answered that question. Let's go to the next one. And here, they mix and record. I may have missed your answered question. Are you able to mix and record on it? And if so, how does it work? I believe there is a 4-channel mix mode on here. Let me go into the menu system, record mode. 4-channel. Okay, let me preface this that I use the mixer differently than some people may use it. And let me go back. So say you're recording stereo. You're recording stereo with the two devices, this device through channel 1 and channel 2. And you are connecting this to a DSLR, a camera of some type, and so you can record quality audio straight to your camera. But you're recording one lav and one shotgun mic or one boom mic, and you want to be able to pick and choose in post, but you don't want to sync. The answer to that is to go into the mixer window here, and you pan channel 1 to the left and you pan channel 2 to the right, and this allows you to send channel 1 to the left channel on the camera and channel 2 to the right channel of the camera. This is awesome to have if you ever need to mix lavs with a shotgun mic. That gives the editor the ability to pick and choose what he wants in post. And believe you me, if it's a really quick shoot where everything has to be in the can and finished in less than a week, they're almost going to require this. Just keep in mind that's what this mixer is actually used for. With that said, I have never tried to really mix anything on here. If you go to 4-channel mode, it gives you, if you click on a mixer, it allows you to pick and choose what you want, where you want that to be panned at, and also at what level. If you can see on the bottom row, it has levels. And so you can kind of mix, but I wouldn't recommend trying to do your mix from the recorder unless you absolutely have to. Okay. Done, done, done. Alright, I want to ask James what question he had. Toot toot. Just for a minute. And let's see if anyone else had any questions. Yes, Wayne, the full format could take 3 hours, but typically, from my experience, takes about 4 or 5 minutes. And 4 or 5 minutes when you're out in the field waiting, and the director's waiting on you, it feels like forever. So I don't do the full format. I only use the quick format. Okay, James is asking, the second lower audio recording, that's like a safety backup recording. And the answer is yes, that is a backup safety recording. Okay. Let's see if anyone else out there has questions. I'm going to go to the thread on Facebook and see if anyone posted anything. And the answer is yeah. Yeah, I get to hear myself. Nice. All right. If anyone has any general questions, please feel free to jump in. Okay, someone asked, what mixer do I use then? I typically, okay, let me explain my process. This here has a stepped potentiometer right here that allows you to set your levels before you record. I do not change my levels on the fly for any recorder right now. There's two reasons. One, for this one, since it's a stepped recording, you're going to be able to hear the steps as you adjust the sound levels. Two, when you adjust levels on the fly while you're recording, you're not only adjusting the level of dialogue, but you're also adjusting the level of ambience. And as you're adjusting the level of ambience during a live recording, that can cause issues in post trying to clean that up. You always want to have the same level of ambience during your recording if you have to do any kind of cleaning. So you can set your levels right here. Typically with my NTG3 on the low gain, I have it about 3/4 of the way, and it works perfectly fine. With my NTG2, it's about the same thing except on the medium gain setting. All right. I hope that answers your question. Pants full of Smarties. Let's see. Also, comparison based on experience with the NTG2 with the Tascam versus the H4n, and the H4n requires iRig pre, etc. For me, the preamps are so clean on this, you don't need a external sound mixer or field mixer. I used to be a huge, and I still am a huge fan of the iRig pre-hacked because it gives us nice, strong, clean signal for any kind of recorder. This, if you put it side by side, is just as clean. I cannot tell a difference with using the preamp before this of the difference of how clean the sound is overall. You'll get, of course, if you put this in front of this, you'll get a louder sound, but you're not getting any cleaner of a sound. I used to own an H4n. It's a great starter device. I bought it when it was brand new out in the market for $360, and over the years the prices just tanked. And for those that feel a pinch of buying that for, say, $250, when this is now just $200, trust me, I feel your pain. I feel your suffering on that. The H4n is a great starter device. It gets you into recording. However, it is no longer cost efficient to have the H4n. And literally, if you need to save money and you can't afford, this $200 or $235 setup with the battery here, I would say invest into an H1 and an iRig pre, or a DR-05 and an iRig pre. That way, you have clean signal coming in, and you have a small portable recorder. Those portable recorders like the H1 and DR-05 are about $100. Sometimes you get them on sale for about $80, sometimes a little less. The iRig Pre is about $35, $40. So for about $150, you have a decent system. For another $100, you have an awesome system. You have to pick and choose your battles. I will always take an awesome audio system versus an okay system. Any other questions about the DR-60 or anything in audio in general? I'll be glad to take the time to try to answer here. I think Cole was also asking which mixer I use. I'm not sure if he already asked this question or if it's just being asked again. I don't use an external mixer, of course, with the DR60, but I mix. If you're worrying about mixing in post, I mix all my stuff in Pro Tools. It's what I'm comfortable with. It's what I am familiar with. If you are serious about getting into the audio business, Pro Tools is almost a requirement to work with different studios or different offices around the world. If you just need to work on your own projects or projects you're collaborating with fellow filmmakers, Adobe Audition is really good. So is Sony Vegas. That's really nice. Reaper is really good, but I don't love it for post work for video. It has a couple kinks that hasn't worked out yet, but it is also a really good DAW mixer program. Okay, let me turn on the light here so we can all see just a little bit better. Stretch. There we go. Let's see, what else to talk about? A while ago you sent me some bone break Foley. I just wanted to say thanks. Sounds great. I'm glad it helped out. Always, if you have the time, make your own Foley, because there's a certain kind of satisfaction of making something from your own hands. And with a bone break, you can do it with celery, you can do it with sticks breaking, and typically in post you mix it all together to find that perfect element. When I have time, I definitely try to record Foley. When I do not have time, I go straight to my library. If you have a strong library to pull from, it can save you a ton of time. My library has probably 50,000 sound effects right now, and luckily enough, they're cataloged in a way where I can actually search for anything I need to find on it in almost an instant basis. I'll post some links to some sound libraries that I highly recommend that are paid for. Of course, everybody can get stuff from freesound.org. It has gotten Freesound has gotten so much better than it was, say, even 3 years ago. 3 years ago, it was a little rinky-dink site. Maybe had 1,000, 2,000 sound effects. Most of them were horrible. Most of them were recorded poorly. And now there's professionals uploading free sound effects for people to use, and you give them credit to use them in your project, and wow, you have some great sound effects. Let me look at the other questions. Okay, is it possible? Okay, I'm going to show this question. Is it possible to utilize the slate tone feature without having the recorder connected to the camera? Yes, you can use that feature without it connected to the camera. And I always use that feature no matter if it's connected to the camera or not. Just to generate that slate tone so you know the beginning of the recording. It's really important for me to know that my recorder is actually recording, especially if I have to be the all-in-one soundy on location. I mean, imagine having to look at your mixer, hold the boom pole, and then make sure you get proper levels with headphones, and you're trying to follow talent around on set. And that can be sometimes difficult. You need to know when it's recording. So yes, you can use the slate tone without being plugged into the camera. Let's see, is there another option if you need to roll nonstop for an hour plus recording length? Yes, the USB power runs all day, but a 32 gig card only gives you about 45 minutes at a time. That's Wayne, let me correct you on that. For this unit, a 2 gigabyte file, if you're recording mono, will record for 4 hours at 48K 24-bit. It records 4 hours straight. If you need stereo, then of course it cuts that in half to 2 hours. If you need to go longer than that, you can drop down to say 16-bit. If you go to 16-bit, then that'll give you probably another hour 20 minutes of full record time using stereo. So you get more than an hour out of the box with any kind of card. It's just the 2 gigabyte file limit with this, and that's the only problem. It wasn't designed to record an entire wedding all day long, just left on its own. I have not tested to see if it automatically picks up after that 2 gigabyte point. I've been told it does pick up automatically, kind of like how Magic Lantern works for Canon DSLRs, but I have not tested that yet. All right, it is about 8:20. Okay, Wayne, I'm sorry. What's my audio set up on a narrative? Okay, the tools that I use on a narrative, obviously everybody's going to say it depends. But my core tools, the tools that I always bring with me, is my DR-60, my, hold on, let's bring up the question. Let's bring up the question so we can see. My DR-60, my shotgun mic, which is now the NTG3, my blimp and boom pole. What else is my Sennheiser HD280s headphones? Those are almost a must for on-location narrative projects. And what else? A station to charge USB batteries and devices. You always want to make sure you have a place to charge. So I'd say a power strip, and I would say those are my core tools that I bring with me on a narrative project. I usually bring my wireless lavs just in case, but I rarely ever use them. Lately, I've been using wireless to actually transmit from the DR-60 to camera, and having a high-end wireless like the Sennheiser G3 system, it sounds great. Obviously, it's not. It's overly expensive just to send wireless signal just to camera. That's like the wireless units are about $500 for the pair. Probably $550 now on Amazon. You can get stuff that are almost as good for about $250, but that's what I've been using my wireless set right now. I hope that answered your question, Pants. Okay. Wayne, are you? Okay. Are we talking about your DR-60, or are you talking about another device? Because I'm gonna power my unit on right now. Bus power. The date. Wayne was asking, am I sure about the time, for it to last? My card is partially full, so let me scroll down and make sure how full it is. Okay, I have On a 16 gig card, I have about 14 gigs free on my card. So it means I can have at least a couple of 2 gig files. I want to go to my menu system, record setting, and in stereo, 24-bit 48, I'm getting 2 hours. I'll try to get a good look. Web cameras are never great. You can see I can get about 2 hours. So if I pop that down to 16-bit BWF, it gives me an additional hour. This is with stereo. So you can record 3 hours stereo at 48K 16-bit. Wayne, are you sure your card's not full? I mean, I'm just using a simple, you know, a cheapy Samsung card that was on sale, you know, a few months back. You may want to, you know, format it on your computer and then do a quick format on the device itself, because you should be getting way more in 45 minutes. You know, I get 3 hours. Now, if you're talking about battery's a different thing. Battery's completely different. If you don't have, you know, power to last that beyond 45 minutes, that's a different story. But record time, in your record settings, it should say 3 hours and change. Now, file size, if you're at file size, and it doesn't say 2G, which means 2 gigs, you could get less. So if you have file size at 512 meg, that would give you 45 minutes. Hold on one second. Okay. So if you have... There we go. Anyways, I was saying file size. Make sure your file size is not 512, Wayne. Make sure it's at 2G, which is 2 gigabytes. That will give you your 3 hours on your device there. Okay, getting into the hour here. If anyone has any questions, please ask them now. As you can imagine, the family is getting a little rowdy in the background, and I'm trying to keep everybody in check. But it was great. Yeah, it was great, you know, being able to explain how I use my device, and the settings that I use I shoot every day. You know, I have at least one shoot, you know, every 2 weeks where I use this device. I absolutely love it. I actually have 3 others in boxes because I believe in this unit, just in case I drop it, it falls in water, it explodes, or whatever. The one thing I've noticed, and this is a problem that I have to reach out to Tascam, is the spring-loaded XLR releases. Last week, mine actually broke. It is no longer spring-loaded, and it actually, like some others, caused my XLR cable to be stuck. What you don't want to do is try to yank your cable out of the locking mechanism. That will break the spring that's on this. What you want to do is take a small screwdriver, you know, a 00 screwdriver or something of that nature, and slide it into where the notch is and push down on that to release the cable. That will allow you to pull out the cable and retain that spring clip. I made the mistake in trying to yanking it out, and of course I paid the price. To repair this, and if it's out of warranty, I've contacted Tascam about this. If it's beyond 90 days, they charge $90 to repair that. $90. They have the 1-year warranty on parts, but not labor. So you want to be mindful of that. I suspect if I plug in another XLR cable, it will be stuck in there for good until I release it with a screwdriver. So be mindful of that. Anyways, folks, I'm going to sign off right now. I appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in and watch this broadcast. Obviously, it's been broadcast live to YouTube, so it'll be saved for people to watch later on. But if you have any questions, you can reach me on Facebook. I'm on the Frugal Filmmaker group a lot, of course. But you can always send me a PM if you have a question. I'll be glad to try to answer for you. My specialty is on location recording and also post-production for narrative films. And until next time, this is Sean from TRP signing off. Thanks. Bye.